Hey everybody, welcome back to Nice Shot Productions. This is Seth Harwood, and today I am joined by the one, the only, Gregg Barsby.
Here we are. I'm so excited. This is just going to be great. We're going to be looking at the Veterans Park Open 2014.
That's right, this is the third round. We've got Brad Williams, Eric McCabe, Nolan Grider, Paul Macbeth, and yours truly, Gregg Barsby. So we're starting off on hole one. This is a big champ layout format for this final 24 holes. And we're going to start off right here. We're going to do commentary a little bit differently. We're actually just...
No, we're not. We're going to do it exactly the same as everyone's ever done it. Look at Bradley's shot. That's fabulous.
Same as everybody? I like that. We just...
Let's just
status quo.
As long as we don't press any buttons or, kind of push the envelope too much, people shouldn't notice that we're here.
So I shouldn't ask you any questions about what you're doing during this round?
Not at all. I don't really think, first of all, when I play. I'm just out there doing it. So, this is Nolan Grider, one of Texas' most...
He's the homegrown hero for Veterans Park.
I don't know what to say. He's from Texas. That's all I got for you. He throws a long way.
He makes it look really, really easy. I'll give him that. And you'll start seeing later on in this footage.
It's Paul Macbeth. You might have thrown like him if you watch YouTube.
Yes. If you watch enough YouTube, you can learn to throw like Paul Macbeth.
Not exactly
it's
like
easy.
him. It's not even hard to do.
No.
As you can see, I'm wearing all black, and I decided to throw a disc.
Now, what disc were you throwing on this hole? Because I know it was a bit of a headwind coming up the hill. We're going to be serious now. This is serious commentary.
I threw a force.
A force.
Which I don't really remember who makes that disc, but I know that it's a good mold.
Pretty consistent.
It's decent. Does good.
Holds into a headwind.
Yes, that one in particular. So here's Emac. He's playing his second. He's got that solid, smooth pullback, and looks like he just got over on that just a little bit, as you could see.
Yeah, hole one is a little tricky. You can see him trying to throw down this tunnel. The pin's going to be set way back into the tree, so really low ceiling trying to get in there. Now, you're going with a forehand. I know you've got one of the better forehands in the game.
I played the forehand to try to keep it low and out of the wind. I kind of pulled that shot.
Just came out, aimed a little bit lower, just came out a little too low?
Yeah, I just aimed bad. You ever do that?
All the time. Yeah, that's how I play. That's my game.
Eric with a sneaky sidearm. He's been doing a couple more of these lately.
Yeah, he's been working on it. Now,
I don't really know what I was trying to do here. It looks like I was trying to throw it in that basket there. Didn't really have a good chance at it. Nolan with a tight route. It's a tough putt there.
It gets tricky. Once you get into the trees, you can have a perfect lie, but no line to the basket because one or two trees are in the way. But all in all, not a bad hole for everybody.
No, it looked like Paul took a three there. And
now this is
Bradley
hole
also
two.
take a three? Well, he must have. He's on the
I think
box.
Brad took the three, yeah.
Well, his shot was fabulous, so I totally spaced that. There's Paul Macbeth doing what Paul Macbeth does.
I think he kept saying that orange one was a Thunderbird. So one of those new discs. He seems to like throwing some of the new
I think that was
molds.
the new Thunderbird.
Yeah.
That was one of the first times I've seen it thrown. And
so
watching
here's a question
Paul makes
for
you
you.
want to throw one.
He does. Yeah. He makes you think you can throw it as far as he does.
For sure. I mean, I can do everything that he can on the internet, so it's fine.
So how are you going to play this hole? What's running through your mind right now? It's a tight fairway.
Well, it's not necessarily tight, but the wind makes it a lot tougher.
Yeah.
So I was just thinking, throw it with a little bit of hyzer, pull it over to the right side of the fairway, and kind of just let it finish. So the way the wind was playing, it could get over to the left pretty easy if you had it too high.
Yeah. And if you get into that left, into that shul, it's an instant four at least.
Basically, it's kind of like going out of bounds.
Yeah.
Here I opted to play the driver instead of a mid-range just because it was windy again.
Yeah, just dealing with the wind.
I actually had a decent approach there. Emac, he takes the buzz and he throws the buzz about as well as anybody. Actually, I don't think he does throw the buzz anymore.
No, that's his disc. That's the truth.
That's the truth.
I don't think he's going to touch a buzz ever again.
Yeah, well, that's a damn shame because
he touched. No, he did. He threw
really
one
good with
last
it.
week, and I think he got a rash on his hand from it.
Wow. Must have been that pink one he won the major with.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wouldn't touch that either. That thing's contaminated.
So Paul's longest off the tee with his Thunderbird, and looks like he lays it up right under, pretty close to the basket at least.
Nolan with a look from about 35, just off the top.
Yeah.
And this is pathetic. That's what that was. Wow.
Now, was it the wind just trying to compensate for the wind?
Yeah, I think I just tried to read it a little too much.
Just second hole into your round and still not warmed up and
Still
dialed
working.
in on the putting.
Still trying to find it. Yeah, that was frustrating because I played the hole just how I wanted. This hole is basically you're just smashing one out there, nice smooth rip. It's a pretty big fairway here on number 3.
Yeah.
And,
Well, they did for this year. They put in a rope OB between one's fairway because you're throwing back down one's fairway. You're throwing up 3 is the same fairway, so keeping them separate. You can't go wide right. Brad smashes one towards the practice basket.
But he absolutely ripped that shot.
Yeah. I don't think I've seen anybody get that far, at least in a tournament.
You must not have played that many tournaments.
I don't. I've played one. I didn't like it. I finished last in rec.
Nolan throws a little inside, but that's going to play okay.
Yeah.
Mine was basically standard basic. Hyzer shot. Not trying to get too much. There is OB on the inside that you can't see, so that's why we all brought it out really wide, especially Brad, who brought it out very wide, and it's not really going to make too much of a difference when you're laying up like he is.
Well, I think if you get too wide on that kind of hole, because it plays into an island.
Oh, here we go. Now this is when things get fun.
So there you can see the island.
Oh, I haven't even seen this. Oh, and
Eric
clipped the
sticks
tree. He didn't stick it. It hit the tree.
He stuck it. Give him like a 6 on the landing.
I've already given him a major, so. That's Paul McBeth. And that's his disc.
That's his
right
Firebird
there.
just spinning around. That's what happens when you're rated that high.
That's a good job.
You got a couple world championships.
I actually felt like this was a decent shot, maybe a touch inside, and I'd like to see the finish. I haven't seen this before. Oh, and it just seems to miraculously just fly out of bounds.
Skip right off. You didn't get enough backspin on it, is what it was. You got to get the backspin, get it checked up, and roll back a little bit.
Yeah, I can tell that green definitely comes down to backspin.
Yeah. They should make some more discs with backspin.
They need one with a bumper on it.
That'd be nice.
That way it doesn't really fly that good, but what it will do is it'll just stop when it hits something.
There you go. I think Quest AT had something like that, and PDJ didn't like it. So here's Eric after a tree saves it and pulls out a 3 on an island hole.
I was cool because I wasn't able to see what they look like when they came in. Mine kind of looked like it just stayed on edge. Paul's landed right in the middle, and Eric's stayed on the back, and he made the putt. Hole 4 here. This one's, when you play veterans, this is like the must-get birdie. You can't really tell what's going on here, but you're just tossing it over some cacti there, and you're just trying to land it on, down there.
Yeah, it's about 250.
Yeah, it's not the distance. It's really just about the wind read. You could play this one forehand, backhand, hyzer, as you can see Brad do right there.
Yeah. And I think you're going to go sidearm on this one.
I do. I just pop mine up and let the wind kind of do the work.
Yeah.
It was, I believe it was southwest wind?
A little bit.
Is that southwest?
A little bit left to right wind, I think, coming in on there.
That was uncharacteristic from Brad.
Yeah. All these are new baskets, and I think they've been giving some of the players a little bit of trouble this weekend. But pretty good grouping for everybody, I'd say.
I'd say so as well. 4 out of 5 there is proficient, but we didn't display professionalism. Thanks, Brad. I'm just kidding.
No,
Paul
this
shows
one's
really good balance on that drive. Unfortunately, I think it came up a little bit short.
Yeah.
And it's a tough wind read. Again, today, you can't really see anything moving. Well, once it gets down that hill, it seemed like it was really pushing hard left to right
Mm-hmm.
and kind of pushing him down a little bit. So I think some of the guys played it like too wide, and then Paul and I played it too far inside.
Yeah.
It was a tough one to land. And you have to fly it right over these bushes. Like Nolan.
Yeah. Throwing his enforcer.
Of course.
Which, if you're at home, you can keep track. Every time he throws a white disc, it's an enforcer. That's all he throws. I checked his bag. He only has 4 discs. That's
Really?
it. Yeah.
Keeping it simple, there's something to be said for that, too. I mean, Nolan knows his game pretty well, so if you don't have to use more discs to get the same kind of results, I mean, why? Why would you?
Now, do you typically stick to
Oh, he's good.
one
Look at
mold
that.
or 2 molds for, say, a driver versus having 6 or 7?
Myself, lately, because I've been using a lot of different brands, I've been going with different molds. So I have more molds in my bag than I think I usually would throughout the past decade or so.
Okay.
However, I play probably 70% of my shots with 5 discs.
Yeah.
This hole is tricky. Number 6 is up the hill, and it falls off to the left. On the entire hole plays on a sloping right to left downhill, and you have to go up a hill and then over and down the hill, and it's really difficult to land a disc flat on this ground up here and keep it where it is. Paul actually threw a really good drive just low.
Yeah.
Had he got that up another 5 feet, that would have been pristine. McCabe, on the other hand, absolutely fillets this gap. My memory serves me right. Yeah, look how good of a shot that was. That was fabulous.
I know last year this gave a couple of the guys some problems, even people taking some 5s and maybe even a 6 here and there. Now, is this a hole with your kind of arm that you're going to attack the pin?
I was attempting to just get over there to the left of the basket and get a look. That didn't work out. But I did outdrive Paul McBeth, as you can see.
There you go.
And, I mean, why even finish the tournament?
That's all that matters.
Yeah, duh.
And Brad here. Brad said he hit his hand on that.
Brad was straddling the
rock.
ground. Well, yeah. I don't know why he's humping the ground right there. But that's what he wanted to do in that situation. So
felt like that was the right move, the right position to be in.
Mm-hmm. It all comes down
strategy.
to positioning, yeah.
It does. And now coming up to 7, basically same shot, I guess, as you remember it from hole 6. Kind of that same, just big right hand hyzer going up the hill and trying to land on the side of the hill.
Oh, is this the one to the left? Ah, it is. This one's actually much trickier than it looks on this video. So what you're trying to do is, ideally, is play a hyzer flip up that burns kind of late. It seems like everybody let go maybe just a touch to the right, unless they're playing the pure hyzer, which is a good idea because you could probably throw it up there a little easier.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as actually playing the green, I didn't like that shot. That one came out a little early, unfortunately. I played the exaggerated hyzer flip up, where a lot of guys are just smashing a disc out there, letting it hyzer, and then skip wherever it lands. So they weren't necessarily, in my opinion, playing to the contour of the land, just kind of playing the distance of the shot and then hoping for the best.
Just throwing it into the side of the hill and...
Well, just tossing it up on the right side of the hill, letting it fade wherever it does.
Yeah.
Not actually playing it forward towards the pin. Now, there's a lot of guys that can do that and pull it off and get away with a lot. But on a hole like this, as you can see, the slightest mishap can turn into something that isn't a good time.
Turns
McBeth,
a 2 into a 3.
Being a world champion, he cashes that putt and continues on. But a very tough birdie on number 7. Is that
Number 7. Yeah, that's number 7.
Through 7 holes. Look, see how easy this
go
is,
by fast,
folks.
yeah.
I mean,
pause it if you need to. Go get a refreshment.
You're having to suffer through some of these videos. I understand. We're gonna try to keep you involved here. We gotta get you out there.
Yeah. Now,
Right.
this is the top of the world. This is a fun shot to throw, especially when you have 3 spotters at the bottom keeping an eye on everything.
This is the top of the world in Texas.
Okay.
And there's no ocean over there on the left.
This is a mountain. What are you talking about?
Oh, in Texas?
In Texas, yeah, this is a mountain.
It's a mountain with wood chips on top.
It's a mountain still.
Okay. Like where your head's at. Nolan just blasts that shot.
Yeah,
That's ridiculous.
Halfway up the normal fairway, which is about a 400-foot shot.
Brad is disappointed immediately, as you can tell. We found this disc.
Yeah, he gets lucky he's not too deep in there, because if you come in high and crash through, you might not actually get out.
Macbeth just pops that one nice and smooth. He didn't try to get too much with it. Just make sure that you get his fairway. Somebody's stoked, for sure. Oh, he just tried to get it nice and smooth. Yeah. Put it dead center cut. So, myself, I took a Star Boss, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Can't remember who makes that one either, but they fly really good. They go a long way. So,
One of Eric's rare sidearm shots.
it hasn't been so rare lately. He's been throwing more and more of those. It's like these guys have been practicing that.
He's getting brave. You know what? It used to be 10 years ago.
I've got to stop.
Unless
I've
they
gotta
threw
stop
sidearm,
showing these
it
guys
was-
what to do.
Yeah, now it seems Ricky Wysocki started, Paul Macbeth. Everybody's starting to add these huge sidearms.
Well, Ricky's had one, and Paul's also had one. They've developed it a little bit more.
Yeah.
They also don't necessarily use it as much unless they need to. Being that, Ricky and Paul have pretty sound backhands, as well as Eric, obviously.
Sure.
Paul missed that shot. Oh, bounces a little to the right. Thank you. It looks a little bit further away than it is. I would say that putt right there was about 35 feet.
Yeah, I think he was outside the circle and it just chose not to do a jump putt. And hole 9, again, Nolan with the enforcer. And this is, would you call this an ace run hole in a tournament or a must-have birdie hole?
I wouldn't call it an ace run. You got to get this one if you're playing in the pros. I mean,
so you don't want to hang it right
if
at
this,
all.
I chose to throw mine above the bushes. That way I didn't hit anything short. I played the Comet here and nearly aced it, I guess. And now that I saw that.
And if that would have aced it, that would have been 2 years in a row on the same hole that we got to film an ace.
Yeah, Roan aced this one, didn't he?
He did.
Looks so much different now that I've played the course. I thought this hole was like 375 when I saw it, Roan ace.
Instead, you can take a putter.
I'm like, what an amazing ace. He ripped it.
And I think a lot of people, I know, me watching pros, especially guys like David Wiggins Jr., Simon Lizotte, seeing them throw these really, really far shots on film.
You call them pros? I call those people freaks.
Are they? I think a couple of them might have world
disc
distance
skills.
records.
Semi-freakish disc skills.
But we went out and played a little bit of a round here and there, getting some practice in for a few of these.
Mm-hmm.
And I've honestly started looking at the film, it looks like they throw it so much, at least 200 feet further than they're actually throwing the disc.
Right.
So
Yeah, it's hard to judge how far this is. What's this one number?
This one's hole 10.
10? Okay, so this one's tricky. You're trying to throw it up the hill, but you're basically playing the wind, and then you're also trying to play the height and whether you want to play it over the trees or below the trees. This time I opted, I think, to play it below the trees.
Try and scoot it under.
Yeah, it's not necessarily like you're playing it below the tree. You're just trying to get through the crap or get it over the stuff and then get it to fall down with a 20-mile-an-hour side wind.
And Brad goes way high and plays the huge hyzer.
Well, that was informative.
I know. I've got to re-edit some of this. If you're watching this right now, it's going to be fixed, so just ignore us.
Wow. Well, that was informative. You just see the disc skip for a second. Well, we don't know where that finished up. Looked good, though. Eric's got the nice little twist on that one. Looks like he caught a bad break.
Yeah. It's that backward skip that you never really plan on. And you can see the bushes in the back, trees right there with Paul really starting to blow. And would you call that a mental mistake on Paul, hitting that tree early, or?
I'd say he missed that putt. Wow, that looked a lot easier on film than it felt like in real life when I made that one.
Because what, that was about 40 feet?
30.
A little bit
30. Right on that circle there, I'd say.
And Paul cleaning up.
Well, one thing I've noticed when I play with Paul, he's got a really good speed on his putt. So a lot of the ones that he hits on the high left really like to die. If he happens to hit up there, I don't see his cut through as much as I see other players. And I think that's because of the speed that he puts on his disc.
Keeps the speed down a little bit, just kind of falls it into the basket.
So this is a tricky one. Obviously, it wasn't that hard because I got right on that star there. But you basically have to hit an 8-foot gap, and you got to miss one tree.
Now, you played it out to the wide right gap.
I did. There's a couple gaps, but for the righty hyzer, especially with the wind, you're trying to play the right one. So Nolan hit the tree, and then Paul also catches that tree. There's a 5-inch tree that's dead in the middle of the gap that you're going for.
Well, you can't. I don't know if you can really see it on this one, but that right-hand gap is actually split into 2 separate gaps with that tree, and that's kind of what's giving him a little bit of a headache in there.
Yeah, I mean, you can see Nolan's shot was just what looked like picture perfect off the tee, and then he's tucked behind trees there. There's Paul, tucked behind a bunch of stuff after throwing what was a really good, accurate drive. You can't really avoid a tree like that too much when you only have 10 foot to move it.
Yeah,
and then
you have to throw a clown's mouth. You have to throw down a gap. I mean,
it was a good throw. So he didn't get the number there. Nor did Nolan. And then Nolan cut through. So this was a double whammy for Nolan. That hurts a lot.
Yeah.
Paul taps in his 3, and I ended up getting my 2 here, which felt really good because I put it on the star. Because I'm a star,
That's not bad for Champ 11. There's your deuce.
That's a good one.
Champ 11 through the clown's mouth, triple Mando to land it into the star.
And if now I got a pat on the back for that one. That's huge.
That's almost worth more than 2.
Yep.
So here is coming up onto Champion Hole 12, which I don't think anybody's ever really measured the distance, but I want to say about 750, 800 feet at least.
Yeah, I'd say this one plays every bit of 850 feet.
And again, this year they have a rope out of bounds separating holes 13 fairway and this one, hole 12 fairway. So you can't let this disc flip over into that wind and carry to the right. Otherwise, you risk going out of bounds.
Yeah, so I think maybe it plays a little longer than like what it measures out at, just because it's slightly uphill off of the box.
Yeah.
But we're also all throwing hyzers to kind of start the term. We're all throwing our straight disc with hyzer and smashing it so it kind of gets out there and does that full helix flight to get more distance, get to the top of the hill, and be able to play down to it.
Sure.
So it feels like you're smashing 2 of them about as hard as you can, but in all reality, the hole might be 820 feet.
Yeah. A little bit tricky tee shot just to get out into that fairway.
Yeah, not tricky at all, but just you have to throw it harder,
Yeah.
It's like you have to smash that drive just to kind of get it up. You want to be on top looking down at the basket. You want to have a good, clean look. 30 foot short of where EMAC was right there, and you're barely seeing the top of the pin.
Yeah.
And that was a really, really good shot.
And that's what we call parked.
Yeah, that's parked. I do believe this one was parked as well. Paul played it a little bit wider and played the wind perfect. He's parked. That's another park job. I played mine wide as well.
Now, are you trying to get that wind to help push it back over towards the basket a little bit?
Yeah, just let the wind do the work. And I do believe mine was parked as well.
I think so.
Yeah.
It's really tough. We did have a great second cameraman.
Tell your cameraman thanks for filming the guy with long hair. We appreciate that. Bradley is...
Yeah, he hung his out a little bit wide, and that wind didn't help him as much as I think he was planning on it. But there's Nolan with a huge 3, Paul with a 3.
Okay, yeah, if your bag's on, you're parked.
If you don't have to take your bag on, it's pretty much a gimme.
Yeah, I'd say so. Pretty close. Although it was starting to get a little breezy at this point. Of course, right as I step up, you know. Was dead calm.
It was. It was. If you ever notice in some of these videos, the wind will stop whenever Paul's throwing.
Yes.
You should write into the PDGA about that.
I should.
Yeah.
Like, damn you.
Have them change the rule, so he has to wait till the wind starts blowing again before he can throw.
Hey, you go to bed?
Yeah. So coming up on, that's halfway through now because we have the 24-hole layout.
All right. Welcome back.
And yes, intermission.
Wow. I hope you're feeling refreshed, or whatever you had to do in there. Because now we're starting to get into the stretch of things. It's just a dead solid headwind coming off this. This whole plays, I would say, maybe 560. 560s. It plays 560. The distance probably about 480 up a hill, but with the headwind, it's playing every bit of 5.5. And Paul just blasts one, probably about 100 short, which is a mighty rip into this wind for sure.
Definitely, even getting around to the right side of that tree.
Yeah, most people are hoping to get near that tree. Eric's fades off just a little bit. Nolan just gives it that nice smooth pull, about 90%. He's not trying to get too much and get over on it, but he wants to play and make sure he throws it a long way.
Now here's another question for you. You're playing this shot into a headwind. Are you going to back off a little bit on your drive to make sure you don't flip it? Or are you going to go ahead and give it everything you got to try and fight through that wind?
If I have a more stable disc, I might gun up and throw it all the way. If not, I just adjust the hyzer angle, depending on how stiff the headwind is.
Just making sure it doesn't get over and never come back.
Sometimes if you snap them too hard into the wind, they don't want to come back.
No.
Because the wind gets them and they're gone. I chose the sidearm here just to kind of play against the wind. It's mostly a headwind, but as you see here on Brad's, it just kind of carries him away.
Yeah.
And once it holds it, it just takes it.
So that sidearm of yours was just to make sure that wind is pushing that disc back down and not floating it around.
Yeah, it's not going to just take it away from me. I like the sidearm as well on the short ones that are really windy, just because I'm looking at the basket the whole time.
Never have to take your eyes off it. You can hit your spot.
It's a little bit more like I'm right here in the moment. I know what the wind's doing because I'm looking at my target. It looks like I slipped
maybe a little. But I know this year they moved this. This is one of the temporary holes. They moved the tee box back about 150 feet, which means even the biggest arms really can't challenge this basket.
Yeah, these two holes in particular are what we like to call tweeners, which would be a par 4 for maybe definitely for an intermediate player, a true par 4, because it did. I would say this hole played every bit of like
550.
Yeah, again 5.
And you do have
distance wise, we got a little bit of wind, but with the discs the way they are now, all of us are throwing a shot that's either going between about 400 feet to 475 with these wind conditions. So it's not really doing us any good to play this hole. No one's doing anything or moving around. pretty standard approach shot. I let this one get away from me a little bit, and I was pretty fortunate that it didn't go out of bounds. I didn't get wind gusted.
Yeah, you have those brick walls. The planter boxes over there are out of bounds.
A little bit of OB, so I guess you have that to work in. I see why they're calling it a par 4, but
it's just
super tweener as far as top level elite disc golf. This is a hole that doesn't do anything for anybody.
Nobody's getting a 2.
Well, the only thing it's doing,
unless you make a mistake,
the only
taking
thing
a
it's
4.
doing people for are guys that have a much less of an arm, because then the big arms aren't going to be able to outscore them.
Now I know coming up on this next hole, you can get there if you throw the right shot.
Yes.
But you have to either keep it way right around the trees or throw it underneath the trees.
Pipe it. Oh, and then I just go right into the tree.
Or right into the tree.
That was just...
but you do want to...
watch that. Paul takes his a little bit wider right. I didn't want to bring mine as wide just because, I could tell it wasn't going to be able to get back. And Paul's made it back, but it was short because he kind of put it up in the air a little bit. He didn't put as much forward on that one, I think.
Didn't get the skip, came down way too hard. Wasn't fighting forward, or
wasn't fighting forward. A little bit of wind too. It just kind of like pushed it down and didn't let it jump or move much off the ground.
Nolan kept his going forward, definitely.
I remember Brad threw a pretty good one here. He's taken something that's flying straight. Notice how he brought his shoulder through nice and low, and really kind of went through the power zone.
Making sure he keeps it under that tree, doesn't let the disc get the height to it.
Ooh,
that's a pretty good run.
Wow, I thought I made that.
Yeah, this is the first time you're seeing this footage.
It is. I mean, I thought I made that in person. I wasn't talking about the video. Like, I knew that was in. Somehow it just didn't go in the basket. Paul from about 50 or 45.
Maybe 45.
He wanted it, but it wasn't to be. Brad cashed the only birdie here, which I would say that's a good birdie to get. I thought one or two of us would have got that along with him, but sometimes I think that was my first miss in a while.
Now this is a new hole that I've seen out here. It's a double mando.
Brad working on a sidearm. Look at this guy. Wow.
And
this was one of my worst shots of the round. I chose the force, and I left it up high. It's windy, and I tried to play. I was playing the skip. I was thinking skip. My brain is saying, I'm not even worried about hitting that gap. I'm not worried about keeping it low because I can keep the disc low, and I'm thinking about skipping. And
you're already thinking past the shot or past
I'm already past
Mandos, past everything else towards the end of the basket.
And it's frustrating when you botch one with your body and not with like any sort of extraneous obstacles, and you just mess it up all by yourself. Those are frustrating.
So when you have a shot like this that really goes wrong early on, is your mindset switching over to now I have to scramble, get up and down, make sure that I'm up and down in 2?
Yeah, especially on a hole like this. I consider this a pretty easy birdie. As far as if I were to be able to play it every day, I would imagine I'd have a pretty good percentage. So when I hit early, I'm thinking I've got to get a look at the pin. A good look at the pin.
Next shot, you want to make sure that
definitely
your next putt.
Definitely don't want to bogey a hole that you should birdie a lot.
Yeah.
So the next one.
I do it all the time, though.
Well, you all have
I have more than most. So this is champion hole 14. Playing it out and around. They have a mandatory on a tree at the very end. Basically, it makes it a 90-degree dogleg left, and this one you just completely mashed it.
Yeah, I blasted that shot. Definitely wasn't going to be short of the mandatory.
Now, were you trying to go after the mandatory and work it around, or are you just making sure you get long and right? And not really challenging it.
Yeah, for me, this hole is just get it out around the mando and have a straight shot down to the pin. The distance really doesn't matter. If you are right on the edge of the mandatory and you make it around, you might be 150, And then if you're 100 feet to the right of the Mando, you're 250. So,
Yeah. And this
most days I feel like I should get the same score from 150 or 250 wide open in a field. So I was just playing it out. I think that all of us, except for Paul, were kind of doing the same thing. Paul played it a little more straightforward and just played it straight past the Mando.
Yeah.
Had a little bit easier approach here.
And there's Brad. He played his way out. I think his caught the wind, rode a little bit to the right, but
just skipping it right up there. That was a really good shot.
that was a very nice sidearm. I'd take that any day. And Nolan, who threw a sidearm on the last hole, it doesn't really play sidearm.
He doesn't.
But he's very, very good at controlling
I do,
that.
and I remember I threw this one like crap, and I could see why now off of the video. Obviously, I didn't.
So what went wrong with that sidearm shot for you?
I didn't square my shoulders. Notice how Paul had flat shoulders. I didn't get my shoulders squared up. I didn't get them flat. I could tell my left one was above my right. I kind of just swooped out on it. I don't know how to describe it. I think it's more of like a swooped out.
He just knew it was going wrong.
Anything, yeah. I'm like the nose angle wasn't there. Kind of when you leave your shoulder down, it kind of leaves your driving edge of your disc up. Okay. So with the wind, you kind of will get away. It'll just exaggerate the miss a lot more. Where if it's flat, you're gonna be able to push it through it. Brad with the park job.
Now this is another one of the holes out here that's been aced numerous times. And Paul getting a very unfortunate kick. Now are you thinking for this one, go for the ace or just make sure you get the 2?
At this point, I'm trying to make sure I get a 2. I have a decent round going for after the start. I had a rough start and then kind of got it going. So at this point, I'm trying to keep the round going and make sure that I finish on solid. I'm not trying to ace this one. I mean, if I catch a skip, sweet, but as you can see, it's a little dusty. It's kind of sandy out there, so it wasn't not too much on the skips.
And this is Paul from about 40 feet out. And
you can tell it's windy right there.
Yeah.
That just didn't have the same amount of float that it usually does. And as you can tell, it's still windy.
Yeah. Rare spit out for Paul,
and that one hit too.
Unfortunately,
that one hit too much in the middle. It didn't have a chance to fall down. The pole kind of got in the way there.
Now this one was fun to watch because I've played this hole almost the same way every single time, just like Brad, throwing something straight down the middle. I think you're trying to hyzer flip something to carry it a little bit to the right. Eric leaves his, and it works over. It looked like he was going to leave it a little bit wide left.
Ooh.
But he ends up about 40 feet past the basket.
Nolan opted with the thumber. Nice pirouette. I didn't even see that in real life. That was amazing. That was fabulous. Way to go,
Little spin around. Oh. It adds for the dramatic flair.
That was fabulous.
That was a fabulous throw.
Wow.
And Paul's going to throw one that I really had never seen before. And that's stalling out. I think he threw a Firebird, throwing something overstable and just trying to let it drop in. But
that doesn't surprise me at all. There I just played a little patent pending, slight, just nice little touch shot down the hill.
Now I know the round before you were a little bit closer up. You had a run at the basket and you made the putt, but
I didn't
hit.
It.
Well, you hit the pan. You went for it.
I threw a very nice approach shot, and it nubbed off and then rolled past where Nolan just made his putt from.
So
I ended up bogeying it.
Were you thinking about that during that upshot? Were you just putting it out of your mind and saying, I'm just laying up?
I definitely was like, I don't want to hit the pin here.
You remember what happened, and you want to make sure it doesn't happen again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that green is tricky. It's trickier than it looks on film. Like, I don't know. It's weird with the wind and the way it was kind of going through that little corridor.
Yeah.
I couldn't tell if it was just going to smash a tailwind through there, and all of a sudden my putter was going to stable up on me, and I was going to get it to roll out.
Well, you notice a lot of these greens aren't like park golf where you have grass around the basket.
Definitely.
A lot of this is hard-packed gravel, where if you catch a roll, there's nothing to stop it. You could slide easily.
I blasted that shot.
This is a fun...
It came out weak. Ooh.
That was still one of the furthest throws.
I know.
They
I felt
moved
like
this.
I crushed it, and it just still went in the woods.
They changed this this hole up. It used to be another hole where you almost had to get a 2 on it, and they moved the tee back, I want to say, 250 feet. Made the Mando to keep it out of the pavilion. And Eric's going to throw...
That was a really good shot from
a real big hyzer, yeah. He came over. His disc kept going right off the tee.
As you can see, Brad's throwing a hyzer. Kids are in the back living their life on the swing set, you know?
Yeah.
But Brad's out there throwing discs.
I was surprised we didn't get to see the live action, the LARPers coming around with the foam swords. In years past, there's been at least 100 of them out there.
I saw him. The guys with the, whatever, Brad.
And Brad makes a huge putt from the bottom of the tree. Saves a 3. I mean,
that was a great save.
That's a huge 3 save.
He had a good wind read, too. The wind's kind of pushing up, kind of helping him up the hill. So it probably looked pretty effortless for Brad to make that 40-footer up the hill.
With his putt just kind of letting that wind help him out.
Yeah. This was probably one of the signature holes on the course, just from the look of it. You know, it's got the 2 defined trees.
Sure.
There was a couple little jank ball OBs there besides the water. As you can see, where the guy in the blue's standing, there's a bench there and some other stuff.
There's
that's
a couple
OB.
planter boxes, some
I
concrete.
felt like I was gonna fall in the water. I didn't know how to run up or where to move my body.
And this little
uphill,
drain
too.
tee box is actually, I was going to say, slightly uphill.
Okay, so Paul, and that's prime example of the uphill tee box. Paul lets it go a little inside.
Now, is that something you really need to watch out for, running uphill on the tee box, having early release issues?
I don't know how to describe it, but I feel like when I'm running up a hill, it's easier to release it early because it's harder to get. I don't know. Maybe it's timing, and maybe it's timing because your foot's coming down quicker, or
that could be it.
It's something.
You know what? We're just gonna say that's the reason why.
I'm a super pro, so I mean I know basically everything about this.
And Nolan looks like he gets that wind under his disc, and it just pushes it to the right. And
everyone's making this look so easy, by the way.
It is. It's a legitimate par 4. I've taken many 5s on this hole when it's there.
This is one of my best putts of the round. Nice little slammer in the wind. That was a big one. You can really tell from the green, but it's really windy up there.
It is, yeah. It's
You're
not
right
getting
on
any
this
better.
little point, and it's still 20 sustained mile-an-hour winds at that point. You can see the flag. It's maybe 15 here.
This one's
Brad
what
threw
about
a really
330?
nice shot
Oh yeah.
This hole plays close to 350, little slightly uphill. I'm taking the pulse here, which flies like a fast firebird.
I'm just gonna let it go out right, come back in.
Yeah, and I still threw it short. You know, I thought I threw that a lot further. As you can see, it kind of just...
That wind just pushed it down?
It petered out. You can look at it, it just petered right out.
I know Eric's taken a Felon. I remember seeing the stamp on the disc, and it is real overstable. I think it's a newer one.
Yeah, I like
and
nice
comes
girls
up real short.
for some reason.
You like nice girls?
Yeah, I don't take Felons.
No? Even if they have is a record a deal breaker for you?
Absolutely.
Wow.
I mean, have some morals, for God's sake.
I don't discriminate. I love everybody.
Excuse me, there's Paul McBeth.
Great shot from Paul. Just settles up. Should be an easy two.
Morals, for God's sake.
Everybody makes a mistake.
Well, the good thing is we're going to be able to edit all this stuff. We're back to the action.
I'm not going to edit anything.
Perfect.
It's going in live.
No, they need
Uncut.
to hear it. They do need it. Nolan Grider, after a total mess up on the approach, that was one of my best putts of the round that doesn't go in. And as you can see, I'm completely distraught. I'm ready to just walk off the course. If I had a dog, I would have kicked it at that point.
Really? Keep small children and animals away from Greg when he misses a putt, ladies and gentlemen.
I mean, I just put...
He might go on a baby punching spree.
I just put
A little less.
The littlest amount of spice on that putt, and it just wasn't enough. You know, if I was just tossing a little bit of paprika in there, it was in the chains. That's Brad Williams, and it looks like I think he turned this one over.
He did. He asked me afterwards. We looked at the film and the camera.
He said, "What'd I do?"
He wanted. He's like, "How much hyzer did I have on that?" And we rewound it, and it was very little hyzer coming off of there, and he needed a whole lot more to kind of combat this headwind off of here.
Paul crushed this shot.
Paul does.
This was a smash. To get over where he just skipped, you're basically wanting to land where he skipped, which is good. I also got a hold of this one and really crunched it.
Looks like it.
I put a little bit more hyzer on mine and
looks
let
like
it ride.
You're about 40 feet in front of Paul?
Yeah, I'd say off the tee maybe like 20.
20 off the tee?
A little bit, like 30 left.
Coming around to the left a little bit more, which you need to do.
You want to go left, so yeah.
But you have to get around these trees.
Anywhere that Paul and I threw you're in prime real estate there. Nolan
throwing
just
the enforcer again.
Enforcer.
That's all he's been throwing out here. He just throws the enforcer. I don't even think he has a putter anymore. He's gotten rid of it for the enforcer.
Mm-hmm. Well, it enforced it.
It did. And this is
Brad throws
Williams.
An absolutely fabulous shot here.
Yeah.
This is truly fabulous. Look at that slide.
I remember seeing it thinking, there's no way this is going to work out well. He's going to have to take a 4, and he's up there for a 3.
Wow. Nolan almost put that shot in.
Nolan
I didn't even see that in real life.
Yeah, Nolan's going to miss the throw-in, and I think he's going to end up with about a 40-footer.
Now notice how Paul, he's real stoic. Just a nice little move. Put the elbow out and just go plunk right under the pin. And this is where you get to see how bad my 160-foot game has been. I just pulled this one a little to the right. Trees.
Tree.
That's a frustrating miss right there.
Now, are you trying to throw it with a little bit of hyzer to it, or a little flat, or just came out a little late?
I'm trying to throw it under the pin. So it came out a little bit late. Straight line to the basket. I made that putt, though.
You did. It was a very good putt.
I did. That felt special because I made it.
That's that pro scramble. Always making sure you get the 3 when you can.
Let me just throw the best drive you can imagine, and then still have to putt.
And still have another putt.
What do you think?
I'd give anything for that.
Frustrated yet?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're coming up on our last hole 18 from the champ.
This is just disgusting. Bradley just lets it out of his hand early. Paul, he is like, I'm not going left no matter what, so I'm just going to maybe turn it over a little too much.
It is. OB on the left. If you have to go somewhere bad, go to the right. But you're talking about...
I decided to go left as well.
And it looks like you slipped again.
Slipped out a little bit on that one. Well, you know, unfortunately, these big tournaments we go play don't have tee pads, so... And that's all I'll say.
It is difficult, I'll say, for playing championship level that are kind of made tee pads.
You know, everyone's got to play it, so... Sure would be nice to play some big tournaments with some nice equipment, though. I really enjoyed going to Europe this year because we had those. What do they call it? That turf?
Turf mats?
Yeah.
Artificial turf?
I really liked it. It was a little bit easier on the knees.
Your feet gripped a little bit better, more like a natural grass versus something that
slipped. It felt natural. Concrete.
I bet your shoes will last a whole lot longer on those.
I think so too. Yeah, concrete's not necessarily the best option.
And here's Eric. Eric with another forehand, and you can see how much headwind's coming down this hole 18. He goes straight and skips straight OB.
Yeah, this hole basically it plays dead straight with a finish on the right. The difficulty here is that it's in this, as you can see on a few of these holes on this course, it's kind of just in this chute, you know.
The wind just funnels straight down and it's non-stop hitting you.
Yeah, it's coming, and it keeps coming, you know. It's no like, oh, the wind's gonna break, because no matter where the wind's coming from, it's getting into this tunnel and then just kind of swirling around. So it's also tough to judge kind of if it's going to flip over really quickly or where it'll flip.
Or if it's not going to flip at all and when you want it to and end up going OB on the left.
Oh, yeah, thanks a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Just like that shot off the tee box.
Just a reminder, huh?
Yeah. You know.
I'm glad we watched this video again. That way I can remember how
I
frustrated
didn't want you to
it
forget
was.
that.
Yeah. You're like, hey, by the way, if you didn't throw OB and miss a putt on 18, you would have went in the lead. But
one stroke back out of a four-way tie for the lead.
Right.
Isn't that bad? I mean, I'd take that.
Well, you're not me.
I'm not.
Yeah. Well, I had to take it because that's what happened. You know, that's the realities of the situation. Paul and I having a laugh at the end of the round, knowing that had I made the putt right there, or if Bradley had made it, he would have went in the lead.
Anybody could, yeah.
I mean, it was anybody's ball game right there.
Well, thank you guys for watching, and I promise that we'll have more footage to come.
Well,
Gregg Barsby, thank you for coming all the way up from California.
Thanks,
just to do commentary for this video.
Yes.
No other reasons to be here.
Not really.
It was a pleasure having you.
Well, first, thanks, of course, for having me do the commentary. I want to say hey to everybody on the internet that's watching this, who I've met through the years. Hope y'all are ready for a lot more of this stuff.
It's going to be fun.
Yeah, there's going to be lots of good stuff on the horizon. Not just sweet disc golf videos either. Like we got pictures too, all sort of crazy stuff.
There might be pictures. All right, guys, we will see you next time. Thanks
Signing
again.
off from Texas.